All right, now let's take a look at Metadata Studio from the perspective of a prompt engineer. Now you can build your own prompts and share them with the other developers and administrators in your org. That way you can give them useful tools that they need or enforce corporate policies that you have. You may want to design your own prompt from scratch, which you can do. Just look at my prompts, or you can start out with one of our example prompts and duplicate it and make changes to it. Let's take a look at the prompt we were looking at earlier to create flow node descriptions. Just select the prompt from the list and go to the Prompt Studio, which is the middle tab. Now, a prompt is composed of messages, and each message is composed of content. So in this case, we see the first message is the system message, and then we have a user message and an assistant message. This is few-shot learning. We have an example question and answer to teach the language model how to respond. Then we have the real user question, and then the language model will respond with an assistant answer that will be the real answer. So in this case, we have 4 messages. You can create existing messages like this, or get rid of them if you want. If you dive into one of the messages, you can see that this message has 2 pieces of content. There's a text string that tells the prompt what to do, and then we want to select a flow. This is a required content, and you see this little exclamation point over here at right. That means it's required, and that means that the end user will select that particular piece of content. So you can actually direct your end users to select things. So here's, for example, the example question and the example flow, and now we have an example answer. And so this shows the language model how we want the question and answer to be handled. And also you see the example has the description. The question does not have the description. So we're showing the language model where we want the description and how we want that handled. So very basically, you can select content like this, or the message itself, or you can select the entire prompt. And to do that, just select the background and you'll see the background turn red to show that it's selected. When you do that, that'll put buttons up here for the prompt, buttons over here for the message, or buttons over here for the content. So let's look at some of the options we have for creating a prompt. So first of all, you can give it a name and a category. You can select a model for it or just leave it unknown for the current default model. You can give it a life cycle. You can get a description. Now this is very important because it tells your users what they can do with the prompt, and you can archive the prompt to take it out of circulation. When it comes to the messages, you can select a message and look at the options here. It can be a system message, a user, or an assistant message. It has a title and a name. If it has a close box, that means it's been created recently and can be closed. Let me show you what I mean. So for example, if I create a new assistant message here, you see it has a close box. And so you can actually run the prompt, ask additional questions, get additional answers, but those won't be saved by the prompt because they have a close box. All right, let's take a look at the content. So selecting this piece of content, we can see this is just a simple piece of text content. Now we've got our example flow. We can select that, and you can see that is a piece of data content with XML over here. And of course, you can also have metadata assets. So this is a required asset, and you see it actually lets you select a flow, and it's marked as required, and that means that the end user must select it. You can give it limits. So for example, we can say that you must select 1 flow, or you could select, between 5 and 7 flows, whatever the prompt required. All right, a couple more points here. So the first message must be a system message, and we won't run your prompt unless that's the case. Then you must have a user question and an example answer and another question and an answer. So the very smallest prompt would just be the system message and a question, and then it asks for an answer. So that's the structure of the messages in a prompt. You can have any number of pieces of content in a prompt, and that can either be metadata, data, text, or XML. We handle all of the markdown fencing for you so that all of this is presented to the language model in a consistent manner, and you'll get consistent answers from the language model because of that. You can reorganize this stuff. So for example, if we wanted to move this piece of content up to the top or down to the bottom, you can have any number of pieces of content and you can put them in any order that you find appropriate here in the prompt. All right, so a really useful way to handle this is to start with a prompt, come over to here, duplicate it, give it a new name. Now you can build modifications to this prompt, and of course if you don't like it, you can always delete it. You can't delete our example prompts. They'll be reloaded the next time that Metadata Studio boots. So those are the details of building your own prompts with Prompt Studio.